So now that we've looked specifically at Donald Trump's press briefing comments about the horrifying Atlantic story, which has now been quadruply corroborated by the AP, Fox News, and CNN, there's a ton of other material from this weird press briefing that I want to go over, especially because Kamala Harris, in her interview on CNN, which we looked at, discusses a lot of the material from this press briefing. So this first clip, this is just incoherent. I don't know what Trump is saying here. Can you figure out what he's talking about?
Now they want to stop regulations. They want to bring up regulations to a level, stop the things that we're doing, which are at a much smaller level, and bring up regulations at a level that nobody's ever seen before. They want to do.
I beg you, try to figure out what Donald Trump is talking about there. Donald Trump then absurdly claims that economic shutdowns to combat the virus kill more people than the virus itself. Now, I'm going to deal with the numbers in a moment. First, take a look at what Trump said.
Want to abolish American energy. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Adopt disastrous trade deals and inflict a devastating shutdown. As you know, he said we want to shut it down. We would be willing to shut it down. And you don't shut down when we're setting records. And by the way, we're rounding the corner. We're rounding the corner on the virus. Joe Biden's blanket shutdown would collapse our economy, would cause countless deaths from suicide, drug, alcohol abuse, heart disease, and more. You know, shutdowns cause a lot of problems, a lot of very serious problems, more so than the virus itself.
So we're approaching 200,000 deaths from coronavirus. The shutdowns have obviously not caused 200,000 deaths or anywhere close to it. Now, let's be thorough. Are deaths of despair a thing? Yes, of course. We've reported on that on this program. They've been a problem in the United States for economic reasons for a long time. Deaths of despair are a real thing. Can later diagnoses of cancer, for example, or other conditions, because people are opting out of going to the doctor right now, can that lead to premature death? Of course it can. Of course. Can being in quarantine cause somebody to commit suicide? It could happen. But we've had 200,000 coronavirus deaths. It's insulting to suggest that that is not as bad as the number of deaths we've had due to the shutdowns. It's ludicrous and it's laughable. Then Donald Trump again suggests this idea that states that are closed for political reasons to hurt him, and that the day after the election, they're all going to open. Take a look.
North Carolina, I think that Michigan and Pennsylvania and other states, they should open. The Democrat governors should open the states. They'll open them on November 4th, but they should open them now. It's very unfair to the people to have those shutdowns continuing at the level that they're continuing. Democrats are insisting on it.
The shutdowns, two things on this. Number one, the shutdowns aren't really continuing. I mean, to different degrees, even Massachusetts, which is being very careful, and there's like sort of limited indoor dining. Not every restaurant's doing it. A lot of colleges are going remote. There's really no full shutdowns going on at this point in time. And of course, the shutdowns were not done for political reasons. No governor is on November 4th going to say, hey, we can now open wide open now. But we can now open wide. That's another Trump fantasy. It's not going to happen. Then Trump spoke about the vaccine. Again, this is tracking with a lot of what Kamala Harris talked about in her interview with CNN. Trump says we can probably have the vaccine during October. And you might have noticed that Trump's timeline for the vaccine keeps getting pushed up more and more.
% more greater excess mortality than the United States. A lot of you don't want to report that. And if we took New York out of the equation, there's nobody even close. The job we've done is incredible, and we don't get any credit for it, but we've done an incredible job. Through Operation Warp Speed, we have 3 vaccines in the final stage of clinical trials. Yesterday, Pfizer announced, I just spoke to the head of Pfizer, great guy. They announced that it expects to have the results of its trial very, very shortly, next month. But very shortly. We remain on track to deliver a vaccine before the end of the year and maybe even before November 1st. We think we could probably have it sometime during the month of October. And Pfizer is among the leaders, as you know.
Kamala was asked, would you trust a vaccine that a Trump FDA approves in October? And she said, I don't trust Trump. And it is not about anti-vaxxer. It's about Trump being the constant liar. Then, and this is just wild, Trump on social distancing. Listen to this, and I'll tell you why it's crazy in a moment.
And we need everybody to be careful, to apply common sense and do all of the things that we've told you to do as quickly, as much as you can. Social distancing, wearing a mask whenever the distancing is not possible, and staying with a group that you know. Let's just try and get through this one weekend, and I think we have a chance of doing that. Just social distance, wash your hands, all of the hygiene things that we speak about, and we're really rounding the turn.
So Trump says that, but Trump is doing rallies. Trump just did a rally in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Everybody standing together, no masks, huge crowd, no COVID tests, no hand washing. Everybody crammed into a tight space to wait for Donald Trump to show up. He's saying at press briefings, masks, space between people, all this stuff. And then he's holding optional events where it is impossible to do it. Lastly, Trump, or a couple more clips, Trump can't understand the English of the same Indian reporter who's been there for years with the press corps. Trump tells him he didn't catch anything other than India.
Thank you, Mr. President. During the conventions, During the conventions, Kimberly and Don Jr. had an outreach to the Indian Americans community with a video called 4 More Years for You, which has gone viral among the Indian Americans in the battleground states. So my question is, would Kimberly, Don Jr. and Ivanka Trump, who are very popular among Indian Americans, would be campaigning on your behalf among the Indian Americans with your views on India-US relationship?
Well, I didn't understand everything you said. I know India.
Trump only understood India. There you go. And then the reporter tries again, and all Trump can say is he likes India, and they like him in India, and India is a very big country.
My question was about Indian Americans. Do you think they are voting for you? Are they supporting you?
I do. We had an event in Houston, as you know, and it was a fantastic event. I was invited by Prime Minister Modi, and this was this was at where they play football, the Houston football team, and it was incredible. It was actually incredible, and the Prime Minister could not have been more generous. We have great support from India. We have great support from Prime Minister Modi, and I would think that the people, Indian people, would be voting for Trump. I also, as you know, went to India just prior to the pandemic setting in, because India's been hit very hard. Left really about a week before that. And we had an incredible time. What we saw, the people are so incredible. It's really an incredible place, an incredible country. And it's definitely big. It's definitely big.
Trump also adds in that if the Indian people were given the opportunity, they would vote Trump. This is indistinguishable from parody. This is impossible to satirize. How does SNL make a parody of a press briefing like that? We cannot withstand much more of this. We really can't. We have to remove this guy.